right, I think we'll get started. Good morning. My name is Stephanie Keister. I work for Virginia Edge Strategies, and we have the pleasure of helping to facilitate these webinars. And so I just want to welcome you today, and I'm going to turn it over to Leah Ross, who will kick us off for this webinar.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Employability Skills. This is the topic for today. My name is Leah Ross. I'm one of the two work-based learning specialists here in Fairfax County Public Schools. Welcome to all of the students and staff from all across Northern Virginia.
And hello, everyone. I'm the other work-based learning specialist. My name is Matthew Bechtel, and thanks for joining us today. We're going to get started. Thanks. So instruction to industry events are opportunities created by school divisions here in the Northern Virginia region. Together, we work collaboratively to provide opportunities for students to connect with and hear from professionals from in-demand career fields and prepare for career success. So the next slide. So today, as Leah mentioned, we're moving on for our next session. And today we'll be focusing on elevator pitches from 10:15 to 10:45. So we're going to get rolling. If you have any questions at all, since time is limited, feel free to submit those in the Q&A feature at the bottom of the Zoom window. So if we have time at the end of the session, which most likely we will, we'll try to answer those questions. And if we are not able to answer all of them, we'll make sure to answer them and add those to the I2I event page, along with the recordings that should be available at a later date, hopefully soon. Our next slide introduces you to save the date, or not save the date, but essentially know that a date is coming for our upcoming events, the Instruction to Industry. So our hope is that through this webinar series, these presentations that we have this week will prepare us for the Instruction to Industry Career Fair and Expo. And we're tentatively scheduling that for February 2024. We'll have more information about that multi-night event, the virtual event leading up to the in-person event, at a future date. And that will be once again in partnership with all of our school divisions that help us create these sessions.
All right, today we're going to be talking about elevator pitches. And it's not necessarily something we've ever heard, people have heard about before, but it's probably one of the things you're already doing when you start looking for a job. You just didn't know what it was called. Self-promotion is a leadership skill that's critical to master in order to navigate the realities of the workplace and position yourself for success. All too often, we've been told not to pat ourselves on the back and not to brag about the things we're doing, but there is a way to do that that presents yourself in a self-confident, not arrogant way. So what is an elevator pitch? It's quick. It's your personal selling statement. It should be short, catchy, and informative. The idea is that it fits actually within the time you'd be riding the elevator. That's not necessarily to say you can't do it other places. In fact, you will, but it should be no that more than 30 to 60 seconds and should present yourself in a really great light.
So match your pitch to your purpose. So what is your hoped for outcome? And there can be many. So just naming 3 or more, we have job interview or employment opportunity, your social capital, and gaining investor interest. So when you think job interview employment, these can be volunteering opportunities such as serving in a leadership role for an organization, or even in a career and technical student organization, in addition to jobs. So maybe you're looking for a letter of recommendation. Having an elevator pitch to serve that purpose is very helpful. The social capital, a pitch can be used to make connections and build a network to support you reaching your goals, whether these are passions and even career goals. The more you increase your social capital, the more connections to people you'll have who may be in positions that might help you in some way in your future. So it could be career related or even as simple as helping you find an apartment, advice on a new car, or anything. And then gaining investor interest. Maybe you're looking for seed money to start an entrepreneurial venture and require financial backing to get you started. Speaking through an elevator pitch might help you find that funding that is necessary. But regardless of the outcome you're hoping for, there's a pitch perfect for every purpose. So make sure the message you send is the one that is going to be received. Next. So from a sales perspective, you can customize your elevator pitch. So what you need to do is figure out your buyer's individual needs and what motivates each of them to buy. If you're selling solar panels as an example, Anyone who would like to save money, our product can virtually eliminate your electricity bills. So looking at the consumer who's just looking to lower their energy bills, or an engineer who wants the technical details. So someone who's really focusing in on more of what's the latest technology and how do I get that and how is it most energy efficient. And then finally, maybe it's just a person who's concerned about the environmental impact. So in this case, this salesman would be looking to help reduce the carbon footprint and create clean, sustainable energy for your family with this solution. The same product can be marketed in different ways based on consumers' biggest concerns. It is also important to know what angles you may need to work in order to meet the needs of the listeners of your elevator pitch. So therefore, you'll need to become an expert on the products and services you sell to effectively meet the consumer's needs based off what they might be. It's also helpful to consider what is unique about your product and what sets your business apart from all of the competition. Next.
So what does this look like for you? As a job seeker, what is your elevator pitch? You need to think about it. Every time you meet somebody new, whether it's a student in another class, or it's going for a job interview, or just walking around your hometown, you're introducing yourself. You're showing yourself in some way, either with your body language, your clothing, but also with your conversation. So one of the first questions you'll always be asked at an interview, or just as you get to know someone, is something along the lines of, tell me about yourself. So this is your chance to have your elevator pitch, even if it's that first statement of a job interview. An example of one for high school students. My name is Sandra. I'm a senior at Fairfax Fashion Academy. I've always had an interest in fashion and enjoy reading fashion magazines and blogs. After completing a 4-week-long school project where I created a styling tips guide, I sharpened my creativity skills while also learning how to use Photoshop. From there, I was able to take a lead role in my school's annual fashion show charity event to craft all the marketing and outreach materials. Flyers, posters, pre-event trailers. We had over 600 community guests and $4,000 in ticket sales. All proceeds were donated to the local Homeless Women's Foundation. I'm looking for a summer internship in the fashion industry where I can help a marketing team by using my creativity and Photoshop skills. Sandra could be using this for a job. She could also use it for a summer internship. It's a great way to highlight who you are, what you do, and why you're applying for a job. So often, what you're doing doesn't match where you are. So if she's trying to find a job, even at Old Navy or the mall or a seasonal position for the holidays, she can use these same basic terms, the same basic elevator pitch, and get it to customize for her specific need in that moment.
And here's another one. So what do? I'm kind of working to make sci-fi movies for internet release. I'm a junior at Marshall High School. I'm taking courses in graphic design and video production. So, when Tony Stark pulls on his sweater drawstrings and it morphs into a full-fledged Iron Man suit in the Avengers Infinity War, that's the sort of thing I want to be able to create. Cinematic moments that make you go, wow. For the last year, I have been collaborating with my school's theater department and creative writing class to write and produce a science fiction short of my own. I would love to share it with you sometime and see what you think. So that's another elevator pitch. And maybe this student is looking for a first-time job, maybe at like a game shop, or is wanting to work at a TV studio, or just get out there and get some type of experience. The pitch can be the same with just a few tweaks appropriate to connect directly to an intended listener. So that's another great example. Or maybe you would like to use something like this one. Hello, I'm Josh. I noticed you were hiring for a sales associate position. While I haven't had any formal work experience yet, I have great people skills, and I'm often told I could sell anything. I'm a senior at Oakton High School, and I'm in the DECA Club. Since my sophomore year, I always served as the coordinator for our fundraisers, and last school year, my sales were double the next highest member. We did a lot of them to help support local community and school needs. I made it my passion to help these organizations by educating givers and talking to anyone I could. I know these skills could help me do well in your store. Would you consider speaking with me about the opportunity? So another great example, and you can see that there's a lot of passion driven here into why this individual wants this opportunity. So always passion needs to spill into this, as well as experiences and background. Go to the next one.
An example of a teacher's elevator pitch, because there are a bunch of teachers listening today too. As a teacher, the two most fundamental responsibilities of my position are: one, to keep our students safe, and two, to prepare them for the world beyond our four walls. If our actions do not meet these two basic pillars of education, then we are not meeting the needs or expectations of all of our stakeholders. By embedding real-world experiences and out of the silo cross-subject connections in a safe and nurturing inclusive environment, I make learning relevant, engaging, and just plain fun. And that's been said, what we learn with pleasure, we never forget. So looking at all of these examples, you can see that there are different versions, different ideas, different purposes, whether it's a specific job or a retail position in any one of the industries, or a position in a professional environment. These can adapt as you grow older and you gain more experience.
So the next question is, when do I use my elevator pitch? Very important. So you can use your elevator pitch when waiting in lines, at a job fair, a trade fair, or career expo event, like what we're hoping to do in February. Individual introductions, first time meeting, as well as group introductions. So as the name implies, an elevator pitch is designed to be delivered in an elevator. However, you should be prepared to deliver it in the variety of those other settings. So if you were in line, in many cases, you have the opportunity to strike up a conversation with the person standing in front of you or behind you. If it turns out that that person can help you, then you can have the length of the line to convince them to keep talking to you and hear what your intended purpose it really is. If it's a trade show, every person that staffs a trade show booth is familiar with their organization's elevator pitch, so they know what to say if a prospect, analyst, or a member of the press walks up to them and asks, "So what does your company do?" And that's a really important one. And then an individual introduction. An elevator pitch can be used when you are introduced to someone by a friend and that person asks, "So what do you do?" Of course, it isn't polite to drone on for 5 minutes or more about what you are and what you are doing. Instead, you must be able to reply with a concise statement of who you are, and making that very basic. Last but not least, a group introduction. There'll be many times where you have a situation where everyone in a group is introducing themselves. You don't want to take up too much time, but you do want to obviously make a good lasting impression. So often you're given the chance to introduce yourself, and that large group of people, some of whom might be able to help you. So it's important to make what you say stand out. Is a great chance in delivering that elevator pitch.
Along with that group introduction, a very popular format for first interviews is actually a group interview. And you need to find a way to stand out in that group. If you have 5 or 10 students or adults who are interviewing in a setting all together, how are you going to set yourself apart from them so that at the end of the interview, yours is the name they remember, yours is the face they want to come back for a second interview? And an elevator pitch is a really good way to do that. So how do you build your own? Your pitch should have these 6 elements. It should include your name and your grade. From a high school standpoint, as many of you are, you need to give them that information. It doesn't tell them your age, but it does give them an understanding of where you might be in your high school career and what you might be doing. And unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, a lot of jobs do have age requirements due to the things that they're going to be working with. And this helps to give them the understanding, a company or organization, the understanding of what you may be able to help them with. It should have your high school and any clubs or organizations that you belong to, and that would be relevant. There are a lot of times when people say that they don't want to leave their high school name their high school, because maybe that has a connotation, positive or negative, but you do want to add in what it is you're doing. And one of the ways you can express yourself as to where you are in the environment physically, where you are in the county or in Northern Virginia, is to name your high school or the area you live in. So even if you don't want to name your specific high school, you could say, I am from Winchester, Virginia. You want to talk about your most relevant skills and experience. Jobs want to know you're applying for that job, not that you're applying for a job. Everybody knows you need money. That's part of growing up, but they want to know why you're applying there. You want some impressive results you've gotten or achievement you've attained. Be able to talk about yourself. You have positive things to bring to the table. What is it you're bringing? What makes you special or unique? What extra skills do you have that make you stand out? And you want an ask, you want a call to action. You want them to understand what it is you're telling them all this information for. These are color coded for a very specific reason. I want you to take a look. You heard this one earlier, and all of these are now clicked to where you can go back and see which one that they're expressing. My name is Sandra and I'm a senior. That's your name and your grade. At Fairfax Fashion Academy, that's where you're going to school. I've always had an interest in fashion and enjoy reading fashion magazines and blogs. After completing a 4-week-long project where I created a styling tips guide, I sharpened my creativity skills while also learning to use Photoshop. It's my relevant skills and experience. It's why this is a job I'm looking for. From there, I was able to take a lead role in my school's annual fashion show charity event to craft all the marketing and outreach material like flyers, posters, pre-event trailers, for which we had over 600 community guests and $4,000 in ticket sales. That's impressive results. You're telling them concrete information about what you have done and how you have added to the organization. All proceeds were donated to the local Homeless Women's Foundation. I'm looking for a summer internship in the fashion industry where I can help a marketing team by using my creativity and Photoshop skills. They're not in the same order, but they're both there. What makes you special or unique? And a call to action. You want a job and you want to talk to them about how you can be of value to their organization.
So now is the time to think about an activity that you can do with this. So it's time to write your own. And here's some great sentence starters to get you started, essentially, to look through, and some interesting points to think about. So easy way to start: good morning, I am. Introduce yourself, what school or particular area you're from, member of any committees or organizations or teams that you're on. Some of those strengths, whether they be in FCPS or skills, are Porch of a Graduate skills, some workplace readiness skills, all the way to the profile of a graduate through Virginia. So thinking about those skills and explaining how you've used those skills and experiences, if they apply to the specific situation that you're working through. And then ultimately your hope. What are you hoping to get from the conversation that you have, the 30-second elevator pitch that you use? So, an example could be, I'm a junior at West Springfield High School and a member of the Technology Student Association. One of my greatest strengths is that I'm a creative and critical thinker, and I demonstrate these skills when working in architecture, construction, technology projects for TSA, which is a student organization. I was hoping that you might have advice for finding and securing internships or other WBL experiences in an architectural field or related fields. So keeping it short, sweet, to the point, and that's helpful. But as you look at this as students, as an activity, this is where you would get started. Next slide. So a good practice here, practice, practice, practice. In order to do that, try listing different scenarios where an elevator pitch might be appropriate. Then work out a few talking points using the sentence starters we covered in the previous slide. As with anything, practice, practice, practice until it feels natural and not forced, too fast, or uninteresting at all. You don't have a lot of time and you want to make a long-lasting impression. That can sound like a daunting task, which is why practicing will be helpful in reducing or eliminating any nervousness you may encounter in these situations.
When it comes right down to it, every business we talk to, and Matt and I talk to businesses every single day, we ask the same question. We ask, what is the number one skill you wish every new applicant had? And the number one skill is always communication. They want to know that you can have a conversation, that you can present yourself professionally, and that you can be a great face and great voice for their organization. They can teach you the technical skills in many cases, but it's very difficult for them to find people who can have these conversations. And when you present yourself with a elevator pitch, you are already showing them that you have those great communication skills. And as I said, it's the number one skill we get asked for all the time from every single industry, every single career cluster, from all the way on up. They want to know that you can have expressed yourself well.
Yeah, and the other point of really just driving in the fact that they want you to speak from experience too. So identifying how you're an effective communicator, how you work as a collaborator and on a team. And basically those workplace readiness skills, explaining how you use them is very helpful for this. And once again, just practicing it all, making sense of it all.
So we now are opening the chat for you on the Q&A. If you have questions for us on what we can help you make this better for you, or things that this has triggered in your head, please feel free to throw those in the Q&A. We have about 7 or 8 minutes left, and we're happy to get as many questions as we can. For the teachers out there, I know some of you are hosting this for your whole class, or thinking about using this in the future with other classes. We would love if you go through this process and have the students write elevator pitches. We would love for you to share some of those great ones with us. Here are emails just again, and students, if you do have questions, at least in every school in every county it looks a little bit different, but there are many people in your schools who can help with this as well. What if a student has no clubs or significant achievements? That is a really great question. First of all, I would argue that statement. Everything's a significant achievement. You may not have the same as somebody else does, but you have brought something to somebody, whether it's a group project that you led, or it's a time when you stood up for what's right, when you went into the lunchroom and saw somebody sitting alone, a new student, and you walked over and said, hey, can I sit with you? And you have a conversation. That takes guts, that takes noticing, and a lot of people don't see what's around them. So those are great skills, and those are great achievements. And maybe you've overcome something in your personal life that's relevant. Every one of us has challenges we've overcome. Those are all significant. And many students may not have a specific club, but maybe you do something with a school, but maybe you do something with an outside organization. There are lots of volunteer activities that you might be doing through a religious organization or through a community organization. There are many, many different opportunities that you probably never even thought of, but are all teaching you things like leadership or being a good follower, which is also really difficult. And the world needs followers too. Maybe you've taught yourself, you work with your younger brother or sister on their homework. Think outside the box and the non-traditional ones. How can a student go about finding opportunities or making elevator pitches in a field they ostensibly do not have any experience in? Wow, Matt, you want to take that one?
Sure. So there's a variety of different ways to look for experiences, and each school division may do it differently. So keep that in mind. Here in FCPS, finding opportunities can start with our Naviance enrichments section, where there are going to be work-based learning opportunities and other enrichment opportunities, not always employment. But outside of that, we also support the workinnorthernvirginia.com website, where students can find some great opportunities where you may think that you don't have the experience or the background, but chances are that you may have some of it. You may have some of the courses, you may have some things that you didn't think are necessary that could be leveraged in applying for specific opportunities. So the main thing there, once again, is just to work with your school to see what's available to you, work with your work-based learning specialists or teachers and talk to them about what are the best practices in finding these opportunities. And then ultimately, making those elevator pitches work with those same professionals as well. they can help you, as well as our slide deck here that will be shared with you, and the recording will be able to help you in building that list of when these opportunities can, or what you could use these elevator pitches for in particular opportunities. But ultimately, practice is really what's going to help with this, and starting off and finding opportunities is really going to help too. So yeah, I mean, that's a good start, but obviously it's just a matter of doing the research and building your social capital, finding additional contacts that can support you and get you those experiences that will help make you more valuable when it comes to applying for other opportunities that you really want but just don't have the experience yet.
When you're looking for an experience, many times you'll hear this, it's not what you know, it's who you know. So telling everybody that you're looking for something, even if you think they might have no idea what you're talking about or no idea of an interest, your neighbors may know somebody, your parents may know somebody who knows somebody. You may be able to leverage your social capital, as we talked about at the very beginning, to see where you are and to see who knows somebody who can help you make that first connection. And learning to communicate is really the first skill. And so this idea of this elevator pitch is having that communication skill. So even if you don't have a specific industry that you're connected to yet, that you're interested in, tell people, hey, I'm interested in cybersecurity. I don't have any experience in that. What can you tell me? Talk to your teachers. Maybe you have a teacher in your school that does these things or has experience with these things. Make sure you're talking to people. And it is a really, really hard skill to learn to talk to people. But the more you practice, the more you have these opportunities to speak with your teachers, and your friends. That's what's going to get you really, really so far in these opportunities. We have any last minute questions?
I was just going to build on that. Leah made a really good point as far as the social capital, and sometimes we hear that it's not always good to just focus on your immediate connections, like your parents, your relatives, your family, but come out of your comfort zone and talk with your teachers, talk with trusted professionals that can help lead you in the right direction. You have to start somewhere, and it's not always going to be at home. And instead, working with what you have that's around you at your school or other trusted settings.
Just wanted to highlight one more time that in February, we will be having a series of panel discussions. Sorry for the background noise. Panel discussions throughout the week, the first week of February. Those will be open to all students across Northern Virginia. You'll be able to hear directly from industry professionals in every single aspect of the workforce, which is a really great experience. Again, it will be all free. It will be after school in the afternoons and evenings. And then we are tentatively scheduled for the 17th of February, but don't quote me on that date because it may change, at Dulles Expo Center. It would be a career fair where you actually come in live, talk to all of the industry professionals, and get a real chance to put those elevator pitches to work. And on that note, I will say have a wonderful rest of your day, and hopefully we will see you tomorrow for job interviewing skills.
Thank you everyone for being here. Appreciate it.
That was cool. We got all good feedback.